If you don't believe in conspiracy, then you shouldn't be looking at the Underground Railroad. The New World Order. Auction and Negro sales. $100. 40 years of Negro men Tuskegee syphilis experiment. Moon posting a flag and playing golf. There are three truths: the dreadful bitter truth, your truth, and the Clifton Bradley Underground Railroad's truth. We as the media, mission, and duty is to make you aware of what's happening in our city, community.
All aboard, come on up Clifton, and beat the drums.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Flabby Hoffman Radio Extravaganza. This radio show is dedicated to empowering what's good in people by presenting a deep and uncompromising view of reality. Wait a minute, this isn't the radio. This isn't the Flabby Hoffman show. Where am I?
See us!
What are all these people doing in my bedroom?
What are we doing in your bedroom? Help me get out!
I don't know, other humans being in my bedroom really bothers me. It makes me feel kind of clammy and nervous.
Get your knee off me.
You know what this is? I know what this is. This is Clifton Bradley's Underground Railroad TV show. Oh, damn. Clifton Bradley, he and I go way back. I remember when Clifton was but a lad, 37, 47 years old, somewhere in there, talking to him about the injustices of life, man's inhumanity to man. And I knew right then, within the first 10 minutes, that the person in the next bathroom stall was somebody I was going to be close, tight friends with for a long, long time. You know, I was wrong. You know, I really regretted nearly every minute of knowing him. And every time I'm with him, it's like, you know, nails on a chalkboard. I mean that. No, but no. Seriously, all kidding aside, Clifton Bradley is a dedicated, passionate seeker of truth, asking questions, looking for answers, trying to figure out a way out of all the lies. So thank you. Away from all of the lies that we're influenced by our culture, immersed in by our culture, the diabolical, perverse monsters who rule us with an iron penis and have us beat the hell out of us. Guys, what do you do? We're doing
dramatic reenactments of your thesis statement slash rant.
We're emphasizing.
Dreaming of a world full of hatred. Thousands upon thousands of muted, emotionless robots. Stuck and mired in depression.
Deep and uncompromising. Filled
with spasmodic, compromised vital fluids.
Yeah, you deep did.
With fluorides and tectonic plates shifting underneath our feet and mainstream media brainwashing our souls into oblivion. I can't go on. I got a question.
Now he's James Brown.
Okay, now the long version.
Somebody give me a cape and a mirror to make sure my makeup is okay.
Can't do no more.
I got a question.
What happened?
Flabby Hoffman.
That's right.
You are great at what you do. Okay.
You're only. Tell me what I don't know.
You come on at Can Television, plus you do a radio show.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And there are millions that are listening to you because,
at least
what
maybe,
I understand. Can you tell
one or
us?
two people listening to
Can
us.
you tell us what inspired you to do this radio show and your television show and your performance show? And some your friends, let them comment.
What do you guys think inspired me? Daz, what do you think inspired me to do all this crazy activist stuff when obviously I could have just traded on my good looks and been a male Barbie doll and been a fashion plate and People Magazine, Sexiest Man Alive, that type of thing. Why do you think I did it?
Because if you want to get gigs for your own band, you really need to schmooze as hard as possible.
Right, because I'm a dried up nobody, never was. And
Pre-was. Pre-was. A lot of so much talent in our society are the pre-was.
Oh, right.
Or the
I'm firmly ensconced, entrenched in my pre-wisdom.
Also known as the never wills, but we're not sure about that.
Well,
The worst Dr.
We
Seuss
can't
book.
tell. Yeah.
It's the worst. The pre-was and the never wills.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say making a comeback. I would say it's still here. I praise you with accolades before I knock you.
Who is this talking? Is that
This
Donald
is
Trump?
President Donald Trump is
President
here
Trump,
with us.
yeah, sorry.
He's part of
we
the
can't-
radio
we tried
show.
to-
He's a contract. He's tied into it. It's a court mandated community service thing. He's got what 36 hours left on their sentence.
Sure, I just come by to hang out, drink a whole bunch of Diet Cokes, and, get down.
Hang out with your infinitesimally small wang out.
Yes.
Jam out with your.
Such a love. Flabby likes to go after me. I don't understand why. I mean,
Make out with your
he's Jewish.
Trump
He's all
stakeout.
behind me. He's behind. And thank you. And thank me for the shade, by the way, Flabby.
Sure.
The Jews are behind me. Iran, forget about it. What they're doing. Good morning, Koreavietnam. That's
There
what
we
I
go.
call that.
That's right. It's coming soon to a local a radiation shelter near you.
Radiation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what, your crew is and your people, they're an integral part of what you do. Can
This is my
introduce
crew,
themselves?
the Citrus State
Your
Cheers.
entourage.
I lovingly refer to them as the Citrus State Cheers. They're, of course, a gaggle of former insurance salesmen and bail bondsmen who gather together with me every Saturday from 1 to 4 to shake the fist of the dying light, rage against the machine, all kinds of rage against people who rage against the raging of the machine, and things like that. Of course, for the fantabulous and really overwhelming at times groupie tale that we all pick up because of the resplendence of the entire affair. But we got Des Pickard over here for an unwarranted slam on my ability to be able to get gigs on the merit of my own music. I'm not sure if we can do the website. Keegan Buckingham, the king of all Buckinghams. Yeah, he's totally here with us.
Here.
Kind of hiding.
Live on the radio.
Sarah Black over here makes it in once in a while when it fits into her schedule, if she feels like it.
If it smells nice enough in here, I'll come in.
Yeah, which is very rare.
Very rare.
Stu Bieneman is actually the pick of the litter, in as much as that he's done like 1,000 of my shows. He goes all the way back to the original Can TV series days, which is a couple of decades ago. Been doing this for way too long, with way too few things to show for it. But Stu was in on the things like the New Olympics that we did, which was a fake Olympics, with the inner beauty pageant, where we had a beauty pageant based on people's inner beauty. And then he was the host of all the Flabby Hoffman Caravan, a good deal of the Flabby Hoffman Caravans. Hosted, probably emceed my live shows where I booked a lot of bands and now book bands and comedians at clubs throughout the city of Chicago. He hosted, emceed over 1,000 of them over the years. We did it for a dozen years. We were doing shows 6 to 8 a month, I think, all over town, all the biggest clubs. I was one of the biggest independent bookers in this town for a while until I just got sort of, burnt out on it. I still do it, but this guy is this guy here, this guy.
Dr.
This
Manrock
guy.
here.
We got that's right, he's my doctor. I stopped drinking Diet Cokes. The doctor said it's bad for me, so instead, I started drinking Rip It Cola. And I bought the company. I'll tell you about the marketing slogan? Rip Cola. I just raised the stakes. I'm a marketing genius. I'm a master at branding.
Yeah.
The point is, I started drinking.
Check his ass. There could be a branding from Putin on there somewhere. Too.
That's a low blow. I would expect something.
I'm
like
sure
that
you've
from
had
you,
plenty of
bro.
low blows. I've seen your trail of tears that you leave behind you of hookers and various different types of trash that you think are plastic Barbie doll trash that you think are attractive women.
Well, one man's trash is another man's Flabby's mother, so I went there.
Yeah. You did.
What I'm interested in, and with the millions of people that listen to your show and see your show,
right?
How do they tune into this blog talk
Well, are we allowed to
assume
say?
Blog Talk. You're allowed to say that because this is.
Okay, well, it's q4.org, which is also a not-for-profit.
QUE.
QUE, the number 4.org, and we're on every Saturday from 1 to 4 in the afternoon, and we have basically the show itself. We have tons and tons of guests. The identity of the entirety of what I try to do is trying to create a revolution by empowering what's good in people. And that's my revolution. This is not about entertainment. This is, at its heart and soul, is about revolution. And we have tons of guests, very cool, empowering guests, very expressive, very inclusive and diverse, that come together on the show to defeat the whole identity of negativity and depression that our mainstream media is trying to force on us. You sit down and get immersed in the mainstream media and TV, you'll see a bunch of glitzy phonies, some cookie cutter, homogenous, sort of soulless, stink-eyed people like Rihanna and.
I think the first one that comes to your
Taylor
mind.
Swift.
Rihanna.
When you look at these people, you think, what kind of lizard people are they, and what dimension did they come from? You know, but you watch all these things, these Kardashians, this endless wave of Duck Dynasties, and all this garbage that they force feed us on an ongoing basis, and you think, the world is, we need the world to die, because these are all horrible people, the world is a horrible place, so why not have a guy like Donald Trump who's bound to just like commit gigantic global genocide and to start from scratch, because all these things are so depressing, and that's how they control us, that's how they manipulate.
Yeah, behind you is frowning up though. But
yeah, but whatever. I mean, it's going to be the best Holocaust.
The biggest, the best.
Well, you have the Flabby Hoffman column too, more of a.
Well, I don't know if we can mention that. That's not necessarily non-for-profit. This is, but what we do have is, we're trying to defeat that argument, because all these we've had on this radio show alone, we had 2,000 guests, people from every walk of creative life, expressive life, people who are just trying to do new businesses on their own, and coming out here and talking about their story against impossible odds, how they're still fighting and doing amazing things. And expressing themselves and being who they are and trusting in themselves and following their creative impulse, their organic, true selves, and making a go of it, even though it's like Sisyphus. The uphill battle is endless. The road to the goals that they have, that we have, are almost insurmountable. In realistic terms, are insurmountable. And yet we fight. We're compelled, because it's the truest expression of our inner nature. We can't live a lie, and so we try to fight anyway, and that's just the nature of humanity. That's what we're trying to fight for on the show. That's what this show's all about.
You know what I like to ask?
TV version.
You know what I like to ask?
Your elevator pitch.
I like to get some.
Everything else sucks. This show rocks.
I like to get.
Right down the barrel, 7 to 10 seconds, and smile. Go.
Tom Britton, ladies and gentlemen, fire eater extraordinaire, magic.
No, let's do that again. No, I didn't come here to hurt my
Magic
brand.
is not even a part of it.
Fire-eating scientist. There
Fire-eating
you go. Down the
scientist.
barrel and smile. 7 to 10 seconds. Go.
Firing scientist.
There you go. That's it.
Tom Britton is an inspiration. Not only is he able to astound you with his feats of daring do, but he's also able to explain it to you in ways that even the common curious infant would be able to get wet at the tip over.
But it's a cover-up. He has magic powers.
That is a turn of phrase.
There you go.
And you know what?
And Donald Trump, you all know, no reason to spend any more time on him. He's got plenty of media cameras surrounding him. And then we got Kayla Dandelion. Kayla, why do you think I do this stuff?
I have really no idea.
She has no idea. She doesn't know me very well. We only slept together 4 or 5 times. And that was...
It was just sleep.
It wasn't even really me. It wasn't even really me.
Don't ruin my reputation.
It was Donald Trump in a flabby mask.
An insulin
I
shot.
have a chance to make my way to the top. Do not ruin that, Flabby.
I am going to try. I'm doing everything that I can, to be able to make a difference in the
Think of
world,
Flabby as the
even
first
if it's
step on
just
Paul Lab.
a couple people at a time. And that's what these guys are here helping me do, and I'm grateful and blessed to have them joining in the fight.
I have a question for you and your entourage.
Yes.
We're not cool enough to be an entourage. At best, a gaggle of idiots.
Do you think that It's strange that there are less people, according to statistics, that are looking at CNN News, Fox News, and all of these news shows, and they're tuning in to shows like this show and people that have blogs and people on YouTube. The younger people are getting away from mainstream television and tuning in to what y'all are doing. Do y'all think it's strange? And do y'all think it's true?
Keegan?
There's more and more outlets now for the most mainstream things you could possibly find. So I'm thinking, like, to fill the gap of that old style, just finding things by happenstance of the dial, we're here to step into that void. Where, you know what I mean? We're now the...
I know for a fact that I'm great at filling the voids. Yeah. Well, maybe not filling. Filling's probably...
When the world gets fake, you seek out, you get sort of desperate trying to find, I don't know, trying to find the truth, and so...
When the world gets fake, the fake get faking. Wait,
yeah.
Are we talking about orgasms?
Yeah. Nice guys finish last.
Flabby, we here count as the kind of fake news that Mark Zuckerberg and the Democrats and the mainstream Republicans are all, and you, sir, are all in their different ways trying to crush. Russiagate, a lot of that was about crushing alternative news, not just of the right, but of the left, because they're saying... Oh, well, they've already accused the...
We'll be crushed any minute now. In fact, possibly before the end of this interview. We'll come in, they'll crush us, we'll be totally crushed.
People are going to be turned to all kinds of wild alternatives as long as the center constantly lies to them, and that's CNN. So, the fake news lies, the fringe lies in all kinds of really terrifying and extravagant ways, but the center tells a couple of big lies. And there's no, until someone's telling the truth, there's no way to keep people from scattering.
A lot of that, in fairness to them, is lies by omission. Okay. Whereas Fox News is sort of like an Operation Mockingbird on steroids. Like CNN and the rest of them and MSNBC and all of that are the big lies that they're telling are lies of omission, where they won't allow us to know the big picture. They won't allow us to know. They exclude so much of reality from what they present us that they create a just sort of like telescopic view of certain parts of reality and present it as if it is the entirety of reality.
Like 15 people in a troll farm is the fat cats trying to control our elections.
Right.
But they ignore Adelson, they ignore Mercer, they ignore the fat cats actually controlling our elections.
Right. Yeah.
Or mostly
and then once in a while you hear a little story about a sweatshop collapsing, and then it's over, the news cycle's over, and then, that's it, back to
But he's talking about the opposite thing. He was asking about the diversification of news, and people not seeking out what you're describing, the mainstream media. Right, but instead going to news sources like us and 15-year-olds on YouTube reading a version of the USA Today or their blog.
Yeah.
That's what he was asking about. I think it's a temporary situation.
Right.
I think you're in the Wild West now. We broke up Ma Bell, right back together. Have you logged on to any of the other 200 social networks lately? No, right back together with Facebook. I think this is a temporary moment because we tend to seek. I mean, when we broke up before, we're going to have a Walter Cronkite again, and I think a single point of news in 10 years. I think we're just in a weird fractured moment, like when we broke up Ma Bell, or like in between MySpace and Facebook.
Or the fracturing will radically reduce the size of the species, and there won't be any media in 10 years.
By the several eyes in a row issued forth by Sarah Black, I think she's got something to say.
I think. I think, therefore I am. I think
or
that...
I do not think, therefore I am.
I am not. Are we Schrodinger's human? We are and we are not. Okay, I think though, to answer the official question, are people seeking us out more? I am unsure. I know I've been seeking out this kind of diversification and information and these kinds of resources just to hear what the discourse is around it, right? And so when people do reach out, what is it that they're seeking outside of the mainstream media that we may or may not be providing, and where can they get placated in a different way to feed that part of their brain?
Well,
right?
I think that some of it is honesty.
Perceived honesty, right?
Well,
because
I think that people are attenuated enough to be able to judge for themselves what is real and what is fake. I think that's part of. I think there's an instinctual thing that goes on that gets glossed over by a lot of these big brushstroke-oriented mainstream media things. But I think people do have an intuition that's probably a little bit more attenuated than we give them credit for.
But also among all the other subcultures and programs like ours where we're not mainstream, there are different voices and different conversations happening about very similar topics that we're discussing. And I think that diversity, they can go then and say, all right, they're all kind of talking about the same thing. I'm getting a genuine vibe. And then they have more resources, especially given the social media aspect of the universe right now. We can get all that information and make a much better decision instead of just saying, this is truth coming out of my television.
But doesn't that all die on June 11th when net neutrality goes away? Aren't they going to? Because the net is then going to become just a new, different version of cable TV.
Right.
Excuse me, for somebody that has no knowledge about what net neutrality is, can you give them clarification?
Well,
about that?
I think of it as being a made-up term that has given the power apparatus, the ruling elite, an excuse to create a wall within the internet that blockades things that they don't want to have a mainstream level of distribution from getting into the hearts and minds of the great unwatched. People argue with me about that, but I don't think that. I think net neutrality is a construct, that it's a terminology